Recently, my good friend and podcast co-host Rudigs produced a eulogy video for his Dualsense Edge controller. It basically stopped working, one of the buttons failed, a few other things, and he made this whole eulogy, so I want to talk about it and react to what he said. So this is the video. It's goodbye to my Dualsense Edge controller. It was uploaded 3 weeks ago, and I just want to react to it. I want to see what he has to say about it, see what his feelings around the situation are about saying farewell to such a premium accessory. Maybe put my 2 pennies worth in if there's something that I feel maybe he's missing or that doesn't sit well over this side of things, because Rudigs is Canadian, I'm British. Between us, we've got very different experiences in life just from being either side of the Atlantic. So I'm gonna hit play on this one and send it full screen so you've got his beautiful face everywhere, and we will have a little bit of a watch and a react to his video farewelling his controller.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Rudigs channel, and we're here for another gaming video where gaming greatness isn't just a hobby, it's a lifestyle. And today we're doing something that's going to shake the very foundations of the gaming world. And that's right, we're saying goodbye to my Dualsense Edge controller.
Can I just say, I love that he put the sound effects in himself with his voice as he was doing it, not like in the post edit or with like a soundboard or something. Like, I have to do that sort of thing because I'm doing all of this on mobile. This is currently being filmed on my tablet, whereas he does have a computer, so he has much more ability than I do to do that sort of thing. But I love the weirdness of just putting the sound effects in yourself. That's pretty cool.
Oh, I got it 20 months ago when it first released. The Dualsense Edge caught my attention with that pro weight to it, the adjustable triggers in the back, especially with removable thumbstick, which I'll get into later. But this episode, I will be saying goodbye to my favorite controller of all time, the Dualsense Edge. This bad boy has been with me through some of the most difficult games, which has been the reason why it has taken a beating. From Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, constantly tapping that L1 button, so much so that if you look here, I even got it replaced.
I love that he's replaced it, and I love that he's giving you a bit of history around it. There's a couple of things that spring out at me right here. Thing number one is he's only had this thing 20 months. That's not even 2 full years. In Europe, the UK is no longer part of Europe, unfortunately, and we've lost some consumer rights as part of that. But in Europe, you have 2 years of warranty with any electronic item that's sold. So if he was in the European Union and this thing failed within the 2 years, like his seemingly has from what he's saying, he would just be able to take that back to Sony and they'd have to give him a new one. If they couldn't repair it, couldn't fix what was wrong with it, they just have to give him a new one. So that's a bit shocking. It's kind of the same boat we're in the UK now. Since we left the EU, we only get the 1 year, which absolutely sucks because it's always going to be more towards that 2-year mark that these things tend to fail. It's a bit shocking that a premium accessory has gone that quick as well. But there are obviously pros to it. He's replaced the L1 button. I'm shocked for someone who loved this controller so much and is making a video eulogy about it, that he didn't get a color match on the L1 button. He's got a purple L1 button to replace the black one on the original controller. That kind of baffles me a little bit, considering his love for it. But at the same time, if that's all you can get hold of, it's what you take, you pop the button on and away you go. So let's see what else he has to say.
Oh, the bats and injuries this controller has taken. I have always, been very careful to leave it in the case when I'm done gaming, make sure it's fully charged, plugging it in through the back, using that special adapter cable. However, it just broke down on me. The left stick was one thing that couldn't be fixed. I know there's a new sticks that you can purchase, open it up and slide it in. However, the marketplace is not allowing for this. I am not able to find a single left thumbstick on the marketplace to be able to buy to insert it. Scalpers have bought them up whenever they come on sale, and they just resale for the same price as a regular DualSense. So it's just kind of ludicrous, the secondary market. And please, PlayStation, if you're watching this, I'm saying goodbye to my controller because of the left stick not working, and in addition to the L1 button just giving away. I tap it, it doesn't have that tap response anymore. You have to press it down with the power of Thor and yell like Kratos to literally get it to work.
I'm shocked by the issues he's having getting the left thumbstick. We've got them in abundance over here in the UK, and I have had conversations with him about this one, about maybe picking one up, like I pick it up and just ship it over to him in Canada. I don't know how that would work with import taxes and sales taxes and such for him over there, whether it would end up costing a ridiculous amount more, or whether I would have the ability to ship it to him as a gift. I have spoken to him about that, and it's something we've got to look into as a possibility. But the fact that they just sell out in seconds in Canada, like scalpers just pick them up and then start selling them for the price of a full controller, that's an interesting thing. I get it with the disc drives, because you've got the PlayStation 5 Pro, you've got the PlayStation 5 Slim. Both of those need a disc drive as an additional purchase, and a lot of us gamers still have physical libraries that we want to play on these consoles, so I can understand these scalpers going and buying them. But buying the thumbsticks up, and there's no difference between the left and the right thumbstick in terms of which one you buy and place it in. It's a one size fits all, thankfully. It's just what diodes it connects to and connections it has inside onto the circuit board that makes the difference in how it works. But yeah, they're kind of shocking to hear that it's a scalper's paradise for the left thumbstick of the DualSense Edge over in Canada. Maybe move to Britain. We've got a lot wrong with us, but we've got the left thumbstick for your DualSense Edge, Rudigs.
I loved the details of this controller, though. The fine X square, triangle, circle, all along the touchpad, beautiful details. And again, these back paddles, unlike any back paddles I've ever experienced, the side presses were just absolutely flawless. I can no longer go back to the flat buttons that you had to press back. They even seem to cramp up my fingers now. I would say these are some exceptional back paddles in terms of ergonomics. Absolutely loved them. So
it's interesting what he picks up, like aesthetically. The touchpad on the original DualSense, I'll just bring it a bit closer, it's just flat. It's a nice smooth surface. Your finger runs over it quite nicely. So the fact that he's picked out like the design of that one, it obviously stands out to him. It's an important factor to him. And let's be honest, aesthetics are a big part of why we end up buying certain things. I quite like that is on the DualSense Edge. I don't have the back paddles. I don't have an Edge yet. I do have the 30th anniversary one coming to me, so I will get this experience shortly. But I've always had like the buttons on the back of them. For example, I've got this Xbox controller that it's just buttons on the back of the grip, single finger press. You can map it to what you want, and it doesn't feel bad to me. But from what he's saying and like looking where his fingers rest, it does make sense to have them just in the middle and a bit of a bigger button. It's a nice design feature. It seems really well thought out by PlayStation, that one. And if he's having to go back to a standard DualSense controller, I can understand him saying he's really going to miss those and doesn't want to go back to something else.
So it's a heartfelt goodbye. You know, it was my favorite, sword to bring into any type of battle with me, whether that be a PvP match in the finals, whether that be getting together with the boys to get into some Helldivers and madness and have my stratagem button. right there and available. But now no longer can I even rely on them.
Yeah, that sucks when it's something so integral.
I tried to stretch it out as long as possible, replacing the button, dealing with the stick drift, but today is the day that I'm saying no more, and I'm putting it back in its case, and I'm just putting it off to pasture. I even tried to reach out to evil controllers, to different various people who are controller modders on YouTube through friends, and no one would even touch the Dualsense Edge controller. They said there was too much going on, it's too new, we don't want to mess with it. And I pleaded, I said, I don't care if you break it while trying to fix it, but I'd really love some serious upgrades to this controller, and at the very least, bring it back to its former glory of what it was.
I completely understand that take. I get it from the modders and the fixers. I get their point of view saying it's too complex, it's got too much going on, we don't want to touch it and what have you. I completely understand that one. But at the same time, as a consumer, when you've spent so much money on an accessory and you have such a good time with said accessory that it makes such a big difference to your game time, you don't care if they break it. You want someone to give it a go. If they tell you that they've got no experience or it's very complex and things might go wrong, even if they give it a go, you feel a bit better that you've tried everything in your power and in everybody's power to get this thing working. The problem he's obviously facing, and I suppose many others with the Edge would face, is if you do get a situation that isn't easily consumer fixable, like the swapping out of the thumbsticks, like the face paddles and what have you, is that people aren't willing to even try and fix it. And that's sad. That's something that you really want them to do. You want them to try and fix your device. And if it fails, it fails. It's like your car failing its MOT. You understand these things will eventually fall apart. Some things fall apart really early, some things fall apart decades down the line, sort of thing. But you want someone to try. So I completely get his frustration with that one and really feel for him, actually.
Because honestly, I just love to have my favorite controller, the controller I went into battle with so many times, the controller that I beat the final boss in Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree live before the patch, the controller that I went into Liza P with and beat that final boss with in the secret ending. I mean, the controller that I beat Sekiro Shadow Die twice with. It's just... You know, we've been through so much together in battle, in Among Us, gaslighting the competition, getting that platinum here, there, everywhere, and just, you know, I had a script for this video. I didn't like any of it. I then just decided to talk to the heart, because This is what it is. This is what it is. I really grew attached to a controller, and now I have to say goodbye. I have to put it in its case. I have to accept that 20 months was a long enough time for me to get value out of this controller.
We spoke about it a little bit earlier when I was talking about the whole European Union thing and warranties and missing that warranty as a British person now. But I do kind of get what he's saying here, and value is obviously going to be subjective. Here in the UK, that is a £210 controller. That's what we have to hand over to Sony or Currys or Argos or wherever we're buying it from. We have to hand over £210 to get that controller. Comes with a nice carry case, comes with the different flappy paddles and a couple of extra bits and bobs in the packaging, but it's still £210. It's a lot of money. For me, 20 months for something that cost me £210, that's not good enough, personally. But value's subjective, and he does a lot more gaming than I do. He's got a lot more time in his day to be able to game. And if he's got all of that game time, if he's got all of those hours with that controller and has had such a good time and it's given him joy and value, then who are we to argue with it? Personally, I want my things to last a bit longer. The DualSense that I showed you earlier, this one, it's a launch day model. This came to me in November 2020, and it still works now and is in pretty much daily use. It's an incredible bit of kit. I've never had stick drift. I've never had any of the resistive triggers or anything else start to fall apart or break down on me. And it is the one that everybody said, oh, swap it out, it's terrible, it's going to break on you. And 4 years later, it's absolutely fine. That's value to me, especially as a 70, 80 pound controller. But to him, the value he's got from that controller, I can't speak to it. I've not lived his experiences with it, but I would want more time than that, especially at the price that it offers. And having lived under EU regulation previously and knowing that I should get 2 years out of that regardless, and if I don't, the company will replace it, just feels wrong for someone to be subject to a situation where less than 2 years later they're saying goodbye to an expensive bit of kit. I
am upset with that. I wish this controller lasted the entire lifespan.
There you go, and then he just says the same.
To think that anymore? Let me know in the comments below. How long should a controller really last you these days? Am I, a warrior for taking it 20 months? I just don't know. And I am making this decision not fully accepting of saying goodbye to the controller. When I put this away for the final time, it'll be tough. I'll go reaching for it. But I know I need to not reach for it because my gameplay is worse when I try to struggle with that L1. When I have the stick drift, even though it feels great holding it, it feels more weighted. The button, the back paddle, the pro feeling.
It's a fair question, really. How long should a controller last? I mean, I've still got my PlayStation 3 controllers. Granted, none of them actually hold charge anymore. They all need to be plugged in to actually work. But that's 2007 the PlayStation 3 came out. So we're getting near 20 years, and if they're plugged in, they still work. I've got PS1 and Super Nintendo Entertainment System controllers that still work. Absolutely no sweat. So yeah, is 20 months too short? I personally think so, but it's entirely up to, as I said earlier, your view on value, isn't it?
The adjustable triggers, the haptic tactical feedback you feel on the grips and the controller, the way that they do the thumbsticks, the way they do the touchpad. It'll hurt, but that's why I'm making this video, to kind of just get it all off of my chest, to give a eulogy, if you will, to my Dualsense Edge Pro controller, and to say goodbye for a final time and in front of all of you to hopefully help me, transition on to the next controller. So I appreciate it if you've stuck around with me this long on my rant, my Dualsense Edge controller, as I say goodbye to it. And look, we'll listen to the zipper together here. And there, it'll be closed live on video, and it'll be put away safely as a trophy to someday unlock and cherish as a memory at another time. But fear not, I did order a Dualsense Edge Anniversary Edition controller, and if pre-orders and logistics work out properly, I should have a new Dualsense Edge Pro controller in my hands by next year. Fingers crossed, hoping. In addition, in the meantime, I will be using the standard PS5 DualSense. It is a purple edition controller. So my grandma's favorite color is purple, so I tend to gravitate towards purple items and accessories if I can grab it. No, it won't have the same feel as my Dualsense Edge. No, it won't have my back paddles. It feels so much lighter, even just holding the other one a couple minutes ago.
That is mad to hear, because this is one of the heaviest controllers that I own currently, the DualSense. It sits really heavy in the hand compared to pretty much everything else. Like this one, the Xbox controller is actually bigger than the DualSense, but it's lighter, like quite a bit lighter as well. So to hear the Edge is even weightier, and that he's thinking this is too light and he's throwing it round, that's a weird one for me.
But it'll do. It'll do.
It'll do, donkey.
Keep me going until
that'll do.
till that DualSense Edge. Well, I want to thank you for sticking with me. Everyone, drop a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what's the toughest battle your controller has faced.
Like already done, sir.
We'll see you next time, gamers, and goodbye, my DualSense Edge, my battle stick, my controller, my extension of life into the virtual universe.
Man, extension of life into the virtual universe. He's not wrong. Like, I've never thought of it like that before. A controller is that sort of extension into this other world. It's how you control your avatar in said other world. It's kind of cool to think of it that way. I spoke a lot through that about warranty rights and all that sort of stuff here in the UK and in the EU, and how I've experienced different, and the fact that we've got like 20-year-old controllers sitting here, we've got nearly 7-year-old controllers sitting here still in full working order, I've got my 4-year-old DualSense and what have you, but it's always sad when you lose something that gives you that connection to other people, to other worlds, that escapism, that joy that gaming brings, no matter how it is. I feel his pain. I really do, because it's tough. We all form connections to inanimate objects that maybe we shouldn't. I've got a chair downstairs, for example, that I have this huge connection to just because from my grandparents, and him having purple accessories for his PlayStation because of his grandparents and such. It's a lovely thing to have these connections, and it makes things feel more special than maybe they are. I personally do think a DualSense Edge, especially at the price that they come in, should last longer, like quite a lot longer than just 20 months, not even 2 full years. I have experience with EU regulations, as I've said already, where they have to last that long. If they don't, the manufacturer has to replace them. So that's kind of, it's instilled in me, it's drilled into me. These sort of things should definitely last that long. But again, he says he's got his value out of it, and that's what matters. It oddly heartfelt and emotional video, that one. I wasn't expecting it to sort of crack me around the ear with solid, heavy emotions, but here we are. A really good video. If you do want to go watch the original, it's linked down in the description below. As Rudig said, do the normal things, like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff for people who go rambling on YouTube. But that was my reaction to a eulogy for a DualSense Edge controller, and until next time, guys, have yourselves a fantastic day and take care.